Hello and welcome to the Super High Yield Anesthesia Podcast, the second edition. This is your host, Scott, the anesthesia resident. Thank you for tuning into this podcast. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Scott, and at the time of this recording, I'm currently a CA1 resident. In other words, I'm a PGY 2. If you listen to my previous podcast, Super High Yield Anesthesia, welcome back to this continuation podcast. To be completely honest, last year after I recorded my last episode, the hiatus episode, I reformatted my computer, which unfortunately it deleted my account info and I didn't have like the backup to recover the account. So now I'm back with a brand new podcast again, and it's built from scratch. So like with the previous podcast, this would be a peer-to-peer teaching sort of situation. So by no means do I claim to be an expert in anesthesia, since I am still just a CA1. But my goal is to, as a trainee, try to help out other residents and other anesthesia trainees to, be the best anesthesiologist or anesthesia provider as they can be. That being said, the primary purpose of the second edition of the Super High Yield Anesthesia podcast is to continue to share the things that I learned as a resident that would be useful to you guys, my primary audience, which is kind of geared towards other residents, medical students, and SRNAs. As such, I will be posting episodes on anesthesia considerations for various procedures and diseases, so you can get the high yield information on these things in order to come up with your anesthetic plan. So hopefully on the way to work, you're able to listen to an episode about a procedure that you're preparing for, and then you have the information you need to care for the patient and come up with a thorough anesthetic plan. And I will include the main references in the show notes, but my primary resources would be texts like Stoting's Anesthesia and Coexisting Diseases, the Jaffe's Anesthesiologist Surgical Procedures Manual, and other texts like the Barish, Morgan McHale, and Miller. So in addition to these sorts of educational episodes, I also plan on having other different types of episodes in which I talk about the residency experience with some of my co-residents. Hopefully it kind of resonates with any of you who are currently residents, or if you are just curious on what it's like to be a resident. We're planning on having some episodes on things like applying to anesthesia training programs such as residency or CRNA school. Hopefully, I'm going to have some more faculty members kind of talk about their experiences and their research and any other areas of expertise. And lastly, I'm planning on doing a few interviews with anesthesia providers, both anesthesiologists and CRNAs, kind of just get to know them as a person and why they chose anesthesia. So yeah, that's a lot of awesome plans for this podcast, and I hope you join me along for this journey. And as a final disclaimer, this podcast does not serve as medical advice, just for education and good old fun. And as a trainee myself, it's possible that I'll make mistakes in this podcast. So definitely, I encourage you to contact me if I do make mistakes, and I'll do my best to correct it in some shape or form. So thank you very much for tuning in for this introductory episode, and I hope to see you in the next one.